perception, etc. So, key concepts of social psychology: it has schemas, heuristics, attributions, social perception, theories of mind, attribution theory, social identity theory. Then we allow social learning theory, cognitive dissonance theory, theory of mind, and dual process theory, and various psychologists associated with this social cognition, like Hyder, Albert Bandura, Festinger, John Turner, Daniel Kahneman, Simon Baron, and Cohen. So why it is useful, all these things in the last I'll talk about it. Now let us start the presentation. Yeah. Do you see the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would really love to, interact while, speaking, because it makes us is comfortable and easy to interact with it, because it is a psychology topic. Okay. So welcome to Dr. Ambedkar Open University online psychology session. I mean psychology class, which is social psychology, and today's topic is social cognition. As I already told you in the introduction, this is about cognition and how we interact with the people, how we form certain things, how we interpret based on the information we have, and the memory, storage, retrieval, all these things we'll discuss one by one. After completion of this unit, you would be able to understand what is social cognition, describe the concept of schemas, then explain the impact of a schema on social cognition, then discuss the process and types of schemas, explain the sources and errors of schemas. Now, let us go with the definition. I'll try to define as many as times as possible, and try to give you most closest to your daily routine examples, so that it would become easy for you to understand. So, what is the social cognition mean? What is it? Yeah, yeah. So, social cognition involves in how we interpret, analyze, remember, and use information about social world. Social world, we already discussed about social world. Uh,
Sir,
excuse me.
social world means our surroundings.
Yes. I think a lot of your friends are messaging me saying that they are not able to log in. Please share it as. Uh, excuse me for a second. Yeah. So, who is this? DRDO.
Sir, Vinod Mishra here.
Yeah, Vinod. Yeah, yeah. 1 second. I'm just sharing this. There's a lot of, I don't know why they're not able to log in. They're asking me to send the message. Okay. So, social cognition involves in how we interpret, analyze, remember, and use the information about the social world. Social world is nothing but the world around us. Everything what we are going to interact with, communicate, talk, meet daily, all these things. Why it is important to understand? Understanding social cognition helps to explain how we think about and interact with others. uh, I'll give a simple example how we form first impression during the social interaction. You come to the classroom, you look at your friends, immediately you go and meet them, talk to them. You have a different opinion about that person, and immediately you talk to them. And you see some other person, you don't even approach them. Why is that so? Because of their posture, maybe their facial expressions, maybe their dressing. There are so many things which you assess within fraction of seconds and you avoid them. Similarly, you accept them. Okay, these are the things which we were going to discuss today, especially how you form these things based on your experiences. If you were following since all the first unit to till now, you would understand these examples very easily. Shall we proceed? Right. Consider how we interpret friends' facial expression or analyze co-worker's tone during the meeting. You will be in a serious meeting, you see that your friend has a different expression. You're talking something about him to somebody else. Noticing his facial expression, immediately you stop, or maybe you continue the topic. This is how you read people around you. Similarly, while you are in a meeting, you see that your colleague, his tone, based on the tone, whether you continue the meeting or not, you decide there and then itself. This is nothing but happening inside your brain cognitively, assessing things continuously. Right. Let us go ahead. Yeah, sorry, 1 second. This is how it happens, within the brain. Yeah, first we interpret. Look at the flow chart to the left of the screen. We interpret, then we analyze, remember the previous experiences. If it is yes, we use a particular action, then act or behave according to that. If it is no, we activate some other emotion and accordingly we act. So this is how schemas are formed, or whatever, like cognition is formed and exhibited. Behavior is shown to the external world. Now imagine it. Imagine you are going to meet somebody for the first time. So what would happen? So the nature of social cognition is, the concept itself is like social cognition focuses on mental processes related to people and social interactions. It is the cognition focus on what? Mental processes within inside your brain. There are so many things are going on based on your previous interactions and knowledge, where you have learned many things from socialization process. So that includes interpreting body language, analyzing motives, and understanding social norms. All these things you have learned from socialization process. Now analysis is going on, that is called cognitive process. So key theories here is Harvard's in 2002 emphasized role in social understanding. He highlighted the importance of cognition in navigating complex social environments. Let's take an example and explain it. Interpreting a smile as friendliness versus sarcasm based on the context. The same smile can vary based on the context. You are in a classroom, teacher is asking you asking you explanation why you haven't completed the project report or record writing or something. Your friend laughs at you or smiles at you. You interpret that as sarcasm if he is against you. If is your friend, his same classmate, smiles at you When you complete it on time and teacher appreciates you, you take it as friendly gesture or a happiness, appreciation. So same smile differs from the contest to contest. Situation can change your interpretation of the same action. So suppose you are able to meet a person, want to meet a person, he is not willing to meet you, but you are eager to meet him, and you are assessing what is going to happen. Is he going to accept me? Is he going to talk to me properly? So there are so many things going on inside your brain based on your previous experiences. This is what these theorists told us. They navigate us through complex social environments. Now, social cognition, let us, again recap the definition by saying how we think about other people in social contest. How we think about other people in social contest. This is one of the schematic diagram given by Albert Bandura. If you remember, uh, in the first on the second units, we discussed extensively on Bandura. This is about, he conducted an experiment uh, with the primary students, you can say kindergarten students, in a room where there was a Bobo doll and a person inside, and the child's parent came inside. While his parent is talking to the experimenter, the person who was there in that particular room was, behaving differently with the doll, sometimes hitting, sometimes, hugging. There's so many things were going on. So based on that, children were learning. This is all the process he showed based on the goals, self-efficacy, behavior. All these things are interlinked. They change according to the situations. So key aspects of, why social cognition is very important: interpretation, memory, and these are the key aspects in social cognition: interpretation, memory, and analysis of social information. So as I told you, assuming someone is approachable based on their posture. If you are standing, unapproachable, or close your hands, and they feel that, they are not approachable, or because of dressing, your attire can also influence the other person from approaching you. So if you look at this individual, she is turning away. Her posture is not, amicable to these people. So they are laughing, and she feels inconvenient. So she is not approachable. That is what they are discussing. You can assume like that. Similar contests we have been seeing in our first two semesters. You would have seen, people like that. So now, what is schema? Schema is a mental framework. To define it, schemas are mental frameworks that help organize and interpret information. That help organize and interpret information. So key theories in schemas are Bartlett theory 1932, memory influenced by existing knowledge, or memory constructed by existing knowledge. What does this mean? I'll explain this in depth in the next slide with an example. Then Marcus in 1977, he said, schemas guide self-perception or shape self-perception. Similarly, Taylor and Crocker, they gave a explanation for schema. Schema streamline cognitive processes. With an example, we will try to understand all these things in depth. So to give a context what exactly is schema, I've created a flowchart. Look at this, then we'll go in depth about these things. So your earlier experiences, you have certain experiences, those are into your cognitive process. where they are stored in your memory. They become a schema based on your experience, what to do, what not to do. Then if certain event or a person comes to you, it is triggered your brain, immediately you want to assess that. How are you going to assess that? First your thought process, then immediately your emotions arouse, then your physiology, bodily movements or body activates based on your previous experience, then your behavior is exhibited. So these things happen within fraction of seconds. This entire thing is called schema. They stored information, and the situation wise your reactions, actions, everything are called a mental framework, which is stored in a systematic, organized form. Now what is that systematic, organized form? There is an example of the image. We'll try to explain, understand with the example. Now memory influenced by existing knowledge. Bartlett explained this, or he said, reconstructed by the existing knowledge. What is that? So suppose, let us imagine that you have some box of crayons or maybe sketch pens. You draw a picture with a green color crayon or a sketch pen. Later you can't remember which color you have used it, because the drawing is not there with you. Since you often use a blue crayon, your brain might conceive or convince you that you used the blue crayon as you were always using blue crayon. So your memory gets reconstructed based on what you usually do using the blue crayon, what you are usually doing, not the actual event. That is, you have used the green crayon, but you forgot it, so you thought you have used the blue crayon. So memory reconstructed by the existing knowledge which you already possess earlier, right? Then schemas shape self-perception. Marcus in 1977. If you have always been told that you are a good sportsman or a sports person or you are good at sports, you develop a schema that you are a athlete. This schema shapes, how you see yourself. You are a sporty.
Sportsman.
Yeah, exactly. Sportsman, very active. These are all positive things which you are feeding. Because of this schema, you are more likely to participate in sports, and you feel confident in physical activities and view yourself, your abilities to positively. Then schema streamline cognitive process. Taylor and Crocker. Imagine you have a mental map in your mind about who you are. You know who you are. You definitely know that. Sometimes you overestimate yourself also. This map is shaped by your experiences. What people tell you and what you believe. This map is shaped by your experiences, what people tell you and what you believe in. For example, if you often hear that you are you are smart and good at solving problems, you see yourself as smart. This mental map or schema influences how you think about yourself and how you behave. Believing that you are smart makes you feel more confident when tackling the difficult tasks. There is a simple example. What I said, triggers. Triggering can occur through your senses, by seeing, by tasting, by sensing, all these things. So, as many of you know, that our brain always looks for shortcuts. Shortcuts కోసం చూస్తుంది. So whenever you get some, when we talk about heuristics, you will understand what is this shortcut, right? When it triggers automatically, if it is daily routine, it doesn't go through all this cognitive process or schema. It directly jumps to the conclusion. Immediately it searches the shortcut. Are you able to see the left side screen where my cursor is moving? This one.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, these things, reactive responses to the habits and addictions. You don't need to look into the entire process. Brain doesn't take that heavy cognitive processes. It immediately sends a signal, this is a routine, take the action, right? I hope you understood this. No impact of impact of schemas on social cognition. What is the impact? These schemas, there are three key effects. Three. One is on attention, encoding, and retrieval. Attention directly focusing to the relevant information, that is direct focus toward the schema consisting information. Whatever you see, for example, you see a dog, you have particular schema of the dog. It has four legs, then there is it has tail, 2 ears, everything you remember. Then immediately the next schema is that what breed is that, then color, then what breed, whether it was close to you or it barked at you when you saw last time, all these things. So directing focus to relevant information. So whatever makes you interest, you focus there, that's it. Directing focus to the relevant information only. Encoding, influencing how we store information, that is selectively storing relevant information, given by Stronger and Macmillan. Then retrieval, affecting how we recall information, recalling schema, aligned memories faster. We'll go with an example, maybe you'll understand it better way. Okay. Memory biases based on the initial impressions. Watching a sports game, a fan notices only their favorite players' actions more than the other players. This is how senses triggers immediately all these things. Store searches for the stored memory, then immediately retrieval. Now let us look at the example. Attention, directing focus to the relevant information. Fiske in 1993 said, directing focus to the relevant information. What does it mean? Example, imagine you are at a party, lot of conversation is going on around you, and you have a schema that you are interested in technology or tech. You will naturally direct your attention to any tech related discussions at the party, ignoring the others. Your schema helps you to focus on the information that aligns with your interest. That is artificial intelligence. That's what you want to know about. So whoever is talking about that, immediately your focus goes there. You completely focus on that particular discussion. You align yourself to the topic of interest. That is what Friske said about directing focus to the relevant information. Now, encoding, what does this mean? Influencing how we store information. Stronger and Macmillan told, in 1992. For example, let us take an example of, suppose you are learning about different types of animals. You have a schema that you are particularly interested in birds. You will pay more attention and store more information about birds. Reading a book about animals, you might remember more details about birds comparing to other animals because your schema influenced what you store in the memory. For example, if I saw birds, what is that you're going to recollect or see in your memory immediately? Bird, the bird which you see regularly. You won't see, prototype means the one which is mostly represented by that particular group. So whenever we say bird, immediately you recollect a sparrow, house sparrow. Similarly, no matter what, you like birds, so you relate everything to the birds, even though you are reading about animals. So influencing how we store information. Encoding influences how we store the information. So you are relating everything to the bird when even though when you are reading about animals. Similarly, retrieval affecting how we recall information. Let us say you have a great conversation about cooking with your friend last week. If you have a schema that you are passionate about cooking, you will be able to recall the conversation more quickly and in more detail than other conversations. Your schema makes it easier to remember information that is aligned with your interest. You might have discussed so many things in the practical sessions, but the most interesting topic which you had in the class you will never forget. Whenever we talk about that practical sessions, immediately you recollect saying that this is what happened on the day, because that was most interesting for you, that made you happy. You will never forget. There are two types of schemas. One which made you happy, you will remember forever. The one which was completely against or negative, you will remember more than the positive one. Now, how this process of schemas, in generally categorization, how brain perceive things. We have, as I said, birds means immediately you say sparrow. Rather than penguin, you will definitely say sparrow, because prototype, the one that represents the entire species, you can say sparrow. If I say, animal, what will you say? You may say anything, because the one which is mostly you're exposed to, maybe dog, maybe you're interested in lion, you will say lion. Whenever I say animal, lion or cat. So that's how you are being taught and you learn those things. Similarly, categorization. Whenever we see, we segregate people by using gender, grouping, right? Age, color, marital status, boy, girl, all these things, they come under categorization. Lakoff said in 1987 that grouping is done, grouping information based on the common traits, gender, age, color, marital status, etc. Similarly, Roche and Marvis said bird means immediately we recollect sparrow rather than penguin. These are called prototypes, schema prototypes. Right, functioning schemas act as a filter. As I said, schemas, when you get some information, immediately there is a filter, whether it is important or not. Deletion, desaturation, then faulty thinking. Then it goes to the inside, meanings, beliefs, values. After filtering only it takes, if at all it is interested, then go into the deep. All these things, then choice whether to take action or not. All these things, just go through this, you will understand in depth. This image itself speaks a lot about social cognition. So schemas acts as a filter to schemas reduce the cognitive load and aid decision making. Kahneman and Tversky said, in 1972 and 73, then Friske and Taylor in 1984, they explained that, they act as a filter. You don't need to construct previous things, entire process. Immediately you say, this is what Do it. Go. If some child comes to you and asks you what is this, no, इसको ऐसा लगाओ, ये हो जाएगा, and you will not try to explain him, knowing that they have cognitive abilities. If you encourage them to, learn all those things, they will become well behaved socially and social cognitively. They are well wished with the things. But we see that we find shortcuts because we feel that we are lack of time. So we teach children shortcuts most of the times. Don't do that. Now, with an example, automatically categorizing someone as friendly or trustworthy based on the body language. So whenever you come to the classroom, psychology practicals or maybe some other practical, wherever you go, immediately you feel somebody approachable, somebody unapproachable based on the body language, and you go sit with them or beside them, and you become friends for those 4 days, 5 days, or 6 days. Then after them, if at all there, what do you call, you built rapport, then you continue the friendship. Otherwise, then again next semester we'll meet again. Right? The real life scenarios, interpreting a colleague's tone during the meeting. This I already told you. So types of schemas. How many types are there? There are 4 major types of schemas: person schema, then self schema, role, event. Person schema is about knowledge about a specific individual. It is person talking about yourself. You can say I am a genius, or so and so person is a genius, or you can talk while looking at a children. Wow, he is an expert boss. He will become so and so. So you develop a schema looking at their actions and behavior. This is told by Cantor and Michel in 1979. Self schema about self. There are different psychologists: Marcus Kunda, Marcus Urf, and Marcus Higgins. Higgins. These people spoke about perceptions of oneself. That is, I am organized, I am knowledgeable. It talks mostly about self. Talking about self. That is, uh, self perception is self schema. What do you call? I'll become a doctor in the future. Uh, I don't like so and so food. All these things they develop. Whenever they see that, immediately they get averse. I don't eat. So this is about self schema. Now role schema. Role schema is uh, uh, what do you call, expectations about the roles. Teacher, student. As teacher has some duties, responsibilities. You expect her to teach, and she has a or he has a better knowledge than you. So that is the. Then similarly, you can while looking at police, immediately you have those his roles are in your thought. You say that you're thinking that he is the person who is going to protect. I don't know about now present situation, but in general, police means person who protects you, safeguards the law. The person who is on the ground to protect the law is called police. Similarly, there's so many professions where traffic police, he controls. His duty is the control. That is the role. Expectation. You expect that person to perform those, what do you call them? Responsibilities to be fulfilled by the role schema. So teacher means teacher has knowledge. She's got to teach. She's doing this. She is going to help us. That is what a student is going to expect. Similarly, student means students is the person who is going to learn things, and teacher will expect those from the student. Right. Then event schema. Event schema is a predictable sequence in the event. How wedding unfolds. Simple. For example, your daily routine. You get up. There is a systematic way of doing daily routine. If you miss that also, you'll say, Arre Bapre, I forgot it. Similarly, if you go to weddings, let us take, I can't comment on Christian and Muslim weddings because I don't know much about them. So I can talk about Hindu weddings where there is a process, systematic process, step by step. Then finally, क्या बोलते हैं, मंगलसूत्र पहनाना. After that, then food. Everything goes systematically. This is how event schema. Similarly, let us take you're going to attend a psychology practical session. There is a schema about psychology practicals which is stored in your brain, which says first class, first day morning session is introduction class. Then they'll talk about record writing, then what to write, how to write. Then they'll teach us so and so theory class, then a practical, then morning session, so and so, like that. Final day, there is a correction, record correction. This is a schema about that particular program. This is how everything is in an order where it is unfold systematically. So, for example, person associated with extroversion, you can say he is very loud at parties. He always moves in parties. You see, wherever you go, you are seeing him. So, similarly, you go to office meetings. There is a process where things happen systematically. The final word is given to the boss. Decision is what he's going to make, or boss can ask somebody to conclude the meeting. So all these things are recorded. So there is a process called minutes of meeting are recorded and you have to sign that. That's called. Now how schemas impact of schemas on us. Impact of schemas on attention, encoding, and retrieval. As I already showed you, what are schemas, how they are, attention, all these things I explained you. Now let us see with one more example, with a simple, clear example. Now see, attention, where you are able to focus on particular thing of interest, then encode that, then you store it, then retrieve it back. For example, you look at this, child playing with a dog, then a child immediately exposed to a cat. That girl, a child says, doggy, doggy, doggy. But immediately father lifts her, explains her, saying that doggy is different, cat is different, cat's qualities are this, dog's qualities are this. All these things they'll explain her or him, and they form new schema. Let us check this with an example in the next slide. Now, what is attention? Schema determines what we notice in our environment. Attention means schema, in schema, attention. Attention is, let us explain attention. Attention in schemas. Schemas determine what we notice in our environment. Encoding means influences how we store detail in the memory, and retrieval, schema guides what information we recall. Let us look with simple example. Observing specific behavior in the crowd, a crowded room. You want to see somebody, standing to the leaning to the wall. You watch only those people who is leaning to the wall or who is getting bored. You are looking at those people where you want to go and talk to them. So you observe only such people. Remembering actions that confirm stereotypes. This I'll give you an example, then you will understand. No. Now focusing on the negative feedback over the positive. Now let us check all these things in detail. What do you see as soon as you see this? What is this dog known as?
Pet dog.
Yeah, pet dog. Very good. What about his color and the name?
The golden retriever.
Very nice. Then,
It's in gold color. It's a friendly dog.
very good. It is
Domestic
happy.
dog.
It is happy, smiling. Based on your experiences, there are certain schemas in your brain. Let us try to explore them based on attention, encoding, and retrieval. Same dog will take for all the examples. Now, if you believe that your pet dog, by the way, this is my dog, which is 2 years age, 2.5 years. So, if you believe that your pet dog barks a lot, you will notice it's barking more often. There is a schema in your brain because you're paying more attention to its barking and you don't like barking. If you believe, I said, if you believe that your pet dog barks a lot, you will notice it's barking more often. If you think your dog is playful, you will you will pay more attention to its playing with toys. So you will not think the negative. You'll see only it playing with the dog, toys rather than it's barking or shouting. Similarly, encoding. It influences how we store details in the memory. If you believe that your pet dog makes a mess while eating, खाना खाने के टाइम में क्या कर रहा है, जल्दी जल्दी खा रहा है और it is spilling all over. So you'll remember the times when it spilled its food. खाना खा रहे थे, immediately you will remember that it was spilling food previously. That is what you are remembering. If you think that your dog is friendly, you will store memories of it greeting people happily. Whenever somebody comes, immediately you'll say, ah, my dog was greeting. It was so, friendly with the new people also. Similar things, you recollect it. That is encoding. You see something, immediately you encode the friendliness to these so many things, greeting people, everything. Similarly, retrieval. Schema guides what information we recall. If you see that your pet is energetic, you will easily recall the movements of it running around the house. If you see your dog is loving, you will quickly remember the times it cuddled with you. आपके साथ जो when it is playing with you, all these things you remember. So there are always a negative and a positive example of storing and retrieval, encoding and retrieval. Attention, encoding, retrieval. So if you see, you believe your pet is barking a lot, you notice barking. Your pet is messy while eating, you remember spilling the food. Your pet is energetic, you see it running all the time. All these things are linked. Similarly, the opposite, playful, joyful, greeting, all these things you remember. Now, sources of cognitive error, not just, they not only help you, similarly, you will have, if you are finding shortcuts, you will definitely face errors. Where are these errors coming from? One is from negative bias, tendency to focus negative information. We'll try to explain in depth your regular experiences only. So remember more than the prize. Let us take an example. You are in the university, you are there for the class, practicals. Uh, Somebody criticized you horribly or a negative comment on you. Whenever you go from that particular area or somebody talks about university or Dr. Ambedkar Open University, immediately you recollect that particular thing. You focus more on the negative information than the positive information. You have so much, memorable incidents happen there, but you remember the negative one mostly. So you will ignore all the positive. Remember the negative one only. Then optimistic bias. What is it? Overestimating the positive outcomes. So assuring the task will always go smoothly. For example, somebody told you, do BA psychology, then MSc psychology, then you will get this job. you will think, assuming that, Are, I'll go there, apply for the BA psychology, then BCom or BSc psychology, then immediately I'll do MSc psychology, then I'll get job. अभी तक कुछ नहीं करे, then all these things you are assuming that everything goes smooth. Once you go into that particular time, thinking that everything goes well, this is optimistic, but over optimistic is not good. Once you go there, you will understand there is a process. Then you know that you are not able to pay attention. That is the reason you could not do regular BA or BCom. Now you want to do that. There's so many obstacles. Office mein problem, ghar mein problem, all these things are going to stop. Too much optimism will not work any place. Thinking too much, overanalyzing can lead to suboptimal decisions, overthinking social interactions. You are meeting, a friend or somebody. You think over too much about them and make decisions. Then finally, you get discouraged. Thinking too much about something is also very, very bad. These can create a bias. Bias is, taking one side without, considering the facts. So blindly taking a choice option. So counterfactual thinking is imagining what if. You haven't done, for example, somebody opted for BA psychology. 6 years, it has completed, they haven't completed. They think that, अरे मैं complete कर दिया होता तो I would have become IAS officer till now. मैं तो miss कर लिया. Regretting for, not taking the opportunity. पहले तो we haven't studied well. Then we are thinking that if I took so and so, I would have become something like this. Always thinking, what if I have done that? What if I have chosen that? What if I did not drive? All these things. अगर मैं ये करा होता, अगर मैं नहीं करा होता, this would have been happened. Something like that. So there are so many cognitive biases, sources of cognitive biases. Just go through them and just pause the video, then you will understand. Maybe when it is there on YouTube, you can check it again and again. I'll just read them. Authority bias, confirmation bias, sunk cost bias, halo bias. Looking at somebody, immediately you form an opinion. That is halo bias. Then availability cascading, then Dunning-Kruger effect, declinism, framing effect. There's so many false consensus. I've just given, for 10 only. There are about 20, 24 are there. Now, how to address these things? Biases or errors that occurs in cognition, social cognition. Awareness, recognizing common biases and their effects. These are some checklists you have to go through whenever you are prone to errors or biases. Pause, break, think mindfully, practice, assume questions. Did I do it correctly? Was that right? Wrong? Assess yourself, then proceed. For example, imagine you often think about people wearing glasses. जैसे कि glasses डाले ना, you always think that they are smart. This is a common bias. People wearing glass are smart. So, how to overcome this? Because of this bias, you might pay more attention to and trust the opinion of the people who wear glasses, even if they are not necessarily more knowledgeable than you or somebody else. So now practicing mindfulness and question assumptions. What to do? The next time you meet someone wearing glasses, instead of assuming that they are smart, practice mindfulness by being aware of your bias. पहले तो ऐसा सोच लिया, नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन वी मीट समबडी, अगर वो लोग स्मार्ट बच्चे हैं, ग्लास डाल के ऐसे हैं, डोंट गो इनटू द बायस, वेट, without bias, talk to them. Questions where you have to assume there. Ask yourself, if you would think the same way about some people not wearing glasses. Give everyone an equal choice chance to prove their knowledge, regardless whether they wear glasses or not. They are wearing glasses or not, it doesn't matter to you, but give importance to the chance to prove their knowledge. चांस देना पड़ेगा उनको, otherwise how are they going to prove that? There are other things also, like cultural diversity. These are case studies which I wanted to, regular classes we can do that anyway. I'll quickly run. These are, just try to assume that how have you ever schemas influenced your decisions. Identify the recent examples of counterfactual thinking. If at all you have, just try to imagine them and write it on a paper. Similarly, there's some negative biases. Negative bias in workplace, negative bias in social cognition affects judgments about others and in professional settings. Like, the very important one, just go through it. Two employees, for example, I've taken names Rahul and Priya, are evaluated for promotion. Rahul has made a recent mistake but has a history of strong performance. And Priya has been consistent but with an average result. Rahul is very good, but Priya is average but consistent. But Rahul made a mistake in the recently. So, cognitive bias, what cognitive bias occurs here? Due to the negative bias, the manager focuses more on Rahul's mistake rather than his overall achievements, leading Priya receiving the promotion despite Rahul being more competent over a time. That is the reason organizations have different uh, type of assessments. First they will go to the HR, then they go to the accounts, then they go to the managers. All these things finally they'll get it to the assessing whom they are assessing. They'll show it to him. Then again, if anything is there, then again start reassessing with the different criterias. Then they'll give the promotion or whatever it is, increment. So discuss how does this, this is for you. Discuss if at all you have any work issues or other things. Uh, Discuss among yourself so that that will help you in the exam. Then similarly, some cultural based contests are there. Schemas influence how people perceive and respond to social situations based on the cultural norms. Dining etiquette is many Indians, people eat with hand in common, so it signifies enjoying food, while in Western culture they use cutlery. The person unfamiliar with the difference might view the other person's behavior as inappropriate based on their schema. So misunderstandings in behavior, business, tourism, and social interactions due to the differing event schema. So if such thing happened with you, you discuss and try to write it. This also you don't know, you don't need it. Yeah, I think this you would have came across, right? Just take it. Interactive questions for you. Uh, how have your schemas influenced your decisions? Look into your past experience, shape your perceptions and reactions. Uh, for example, have you ever assumed someone's personality based on their clothing? If at all, please write down. Did you ever judge a situation incorrectly because of your expectations? And there is, counterfactual thinking refers to what could have been. You imagine something happened. If I had studied harder, I would have scored better. If something happened like this, imagine that self, that event or schema, write down your feelings about that. You can overcome that later on. If I had left home earlier, I would have missed the bus. I wouldn't have missed the bus. All these things we experience, you people talking in the classes. Yeah. Now social cognition. Let us recap it as early as possible. Social cognition involves in interpreting and interacting with the social world that affects everyday decisions. Schemas streamline understanding but can induce biases. Biases influence our judgments unconsciously. Understanding schemas, heuristics, and errors can improve decision making. Awareness of bias can help fostering inclusivity and better communication. Recognizing errors in cognition leads to better social interactions. Application enhancing personal and professional relationships. So there are some important questions than these things, and I think this in hope you all understood the topic,
Yes, sir.
and I would like to give certain important things now. 1 second. Yeah. See, as I told you, there are we still have 2 minutes. I'll try to.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So heuristic is nothing but a mental shortcut that simplifies decision making. While heuristic saves time, they can lead to errors or biases. So example, availability of heuristic lead us to judge a likelihood of an event based on how easily examples come to our mind. After hearing about a plane crash, you might overestimate the danger of flying. Simple mental attributions we discussed, theory of theories of fundamental. So I'll give the most important applications of social cognition, interpersonal relationships, understanding how people form and maintain relationships. Example, recognizing that your partner's bad mood might be due to the stress at the work, that is external attribution rather than the something you did. Prejudice and stereotyping, examining how schemas and heuristic contributes to bias. Stereotypes, typing a group of people based on the limited information. For example, you have let us talk about political parties. Based on their name, we assign particular stereotype to that particular group or a party. Similarly, marketing, advertising, using social cognition principles to influence the consumer behavior. Example, ads that create a sense of belongingness, social identity to sell the products. Similarly, education, applying social learning theory to teach students through modeling and observation. Teacher demonstrates problem solving techniques for the students to imitate. So in conclusion, social cognition is a fundamental aspect of human interaction, shaping how we perceive, interpret, and respond to the social world. By understanding the concepts of social cognition, we can gain insight into human behavior, improve communication, and reduce biases in our judgments. So that is it. I hope you understood it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for logging in. See you all next week. Next, I think Sunday is the last class, right?
Maybe,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
I think 15th is the last session. So see you all on 15th.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
sir.
sir.
See you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.